I want to share with you what I've been working on lately, and that is it's called intuitive painting. Um, this exercise is designed to help free us up from a lot of um, things that might hold us back in our creative self. There is no right or wrong to this. There are artistic principles that we can apply to it. For example, for composition, value, general design, but getting out of our head on all of that and just focusing on what we love um, and putting it down on paper or a canvas or whatever. I've started working in this sketchbook. I have admired other artists that were working in a sketchbook about this size and how you're able to just open it up flat. A lot of my other sketchbooks had that spiral binding in the middle, and so I was hoping to find one that would open flat like this that I could just draw across the whole page. Lo and behold, last weekend I found on my bookshelf a journal that somebody gave me years ago, and I took it out of the beautiful decorative cover and am working in it this way. And then once I have it filled, I'll probably put it back in the beautiful binder that it came in. But in the meantime, I have started my daily journal. And once again, it's not been daily. It's been frequent. This sketch that I did last week, we were in the middle of tornado warnings all day last Saturday. We had 3 storm systems come through. We were without power for about 3 hours. And so I perched in front of our window, this window right here. It was given enough daylight into the room that I could paint a little bit. And I was perched on this little red chest with the dark top facing the window. And I began to sketch. I did not recognize it at the time. I was just pulling colors that appealed to me. But if I look at this, I can see sort of the gray outside that I was experiencing. This is the red of my chest, I believe, and the dark wood and other dark things around me. And so I think on some subconscious level, that's what I was experiencing on that stormy Saturday. So I perched in front of the window in my studio on a stormy afternoon. The power was out. I set up my workspace on top of my little red storage chest. And so I just began to paint colors that were appealing to me that day. I drew a few lines. This is the thing, just put lines that you want, colors that you want. You can paint over it, shift it. That was on Saturday. Sunday, I went through my normal Sunday church activities. Monday, I worked, and Monday evening I had a meeting in Huntsville. And so on my way home, along Highway 72 between Huntsville and Florence, I thought I would love to paint this. And it had occurred to me during the day that what I had actually sketched on Saturday was some sort of subconscious connection to the elements around me. And so with that in mind, I was thinking about the drive home after dark. Here's my dashboard. And over here are some of the farmhouses, the lights of farmhouses along the way, tail lights of the cars in front of me, headlights of the cars approaching me. This is my rear view mirror, some of the dimming tail lights and headlights in the rear view mirror. My GPS had some water. There are rivers and creeks along the way between highways at Huntsville and Florence on Highway 72. So this is my painting, driving home at night. So I put that in the sketchbook. Then the next morning, I was painting. I had set up my sketchbook ready to go. I have found that to be helpful to set my environment to be conducive to me writing, drawing. I keep my journal on my sofa where I have my quiet time. So I had my sketchbook laid out and my palette. I didn't have my colors on it yet, but I had my palette laid out ready to put it whatever colors appealed to me. And I started with this blue in here, and I was, just working along. And all of a sudden, I recognized that I had dropped my paintbrush into my coffee mug and not my water class. And so it just made me laugh. I went to the kitchen to refill my coffee mug, came back in, and just continued to paint, put some cheerful, I laughed, and it was so funny. So here I wrote, I was feeling pretty serious until I just accidentally put my paintbrush into my coffee cup instead of my water glass. Then I laughed. And so here I just made some notes, sit with the lines a little while because I started over what I felt like was overworking. I had some really fun lines. I liked the composition of it. I liked the energy of it. Then I went to painting some more. And I thought, no, maybe I should have stopped. And so I did stop. And I said, sit with the line a little while. That reminds me sometimes just to sit with a feeling a little while before I want to fuss and fix things. Remember to laugh. Enjoy the process. Don't be in such a hurry. So those are my just gentle journal reminders on that day. And as I thought about coming on here to talk to you a little bit about the process of intuitive painting, I was reminded of my daughter had a copy of Cinderella picture book when she was little. And I was looking through it. We were reading it together. She was probably 3, 4. And we got to the page with the wicked stepsisters. And I noticed she had taken a purple crayon and it just vigorously made these marks on that page. And you could see in her emotional marks that she hated those wicked stepsisters and how mean they were to Cinderella. And so this process is designed, I think, in some part, it's designed to take us back to that child, that emotion, the pure emotion, no judgment of right or wrong, expectation of others. This does not have to be anything, but just fun, play, color, anger, whatever it is we're feeling, and just put it out on paper. I love this quote by an artist that I've been following lately, Louise Fletcher. It says, we're painting emotional truth rather than a likeness. And so this was an emotional truth. I was kind of serious and steady, and then all of a sudden I did something unexpected. And so it freed me up to just have fun with it, experience a little bit of joy on the page. So then that other night, I was cleaning up the kitchen and it occurred to me, I'm older than my mother. That thought, I'm older than my mother. And what does that mean? Well, my mother died when she was 56 and I'm 68. And so I just wondered, what would it be like to sit down with her and talk to her now? The things that I know, the things that I've learned, the things I've experienced. And the last time we talked, I was 25. And so anyway, that inspired my journal entry the next morning. This one is called I'm Older Than My Mother. And I wrote on here, I drew a line and said she had a checkered dress that made my eyes jump. And a lot of times when we put like complementary colors next to each other or strong contrast colors next to one another, that they bounce. And my mother had a black and white dress and she had black hair, blue eyes. This black and white dress that she had was absolutely stunning on her. But as a child, I remember seeing those checks just bounce. And I didn't understand the idea about contrast then. But anyway, so she had a checkered dress that made my eyes jump. She followed an ant trail and studied birds. And I remember one time I lived in a garage apartment next door to my mom and dad, and she came across the yard and said, Ann, come look at this. And she had followed an ant trail from her front yard all across the way into the middle of my front yard. And y'all, it had to be 50 yards, I guess. It's hard, half a football field away. She'd followed this little ant trail, and all the ants go in one direction were carrying, I don't know if they were eggs or food or what, going down into a hole, and all the ants going the other direction were going empty-handed. And little things like that would fascinate her. She studied things around her. And I went over to have coffee with her one morning in my early adult years, and she said, Ann, watch the birds. They'll come to the bird bath and take a bath. One by one, they'll come take a bath, and at 10:30, they stop. And so we sat there, enjoyed our coffee, and then pretty soon the birds quit coming. And she was calm enough and observant enough to notice these things in nature. And so anyway, She followed an ant trail and studied birds. She was quiet and always heard. And I felt compelled to write that word heard because she would listen, she would hear, she always heard what I had to say. And she was always heard, even in her quiet way. She was always heard. And then I love her still. So as I thought about the colors on this page, she would dress me in pink. She dressed my oldest sister, who had beautiful brown hair and brown eyes. She would dress her in yellow. And my other sister, who was blonde and blue-eyed, she would dress her in blue. Then my father's favorite color was blue. And my mother's eyes were sort of this grayish blue. She wore bright red lipstick. She was a product of my mom and dad met during World War II, just at the beginning of World War II. So she wore that bright red lipstick of the 1940s sometimes. So this is my entry for my mom. I've been busy the past Friday. I was busy and didn't get a chance to paint in my journal, but here we go. I thought I would just kind of start here with you. I'll probably cut this into a couple of videos. I wanted to kind of show you the process that I do. I've laid out on my palette just some colors that I think are pretty today. And I will just start making marks. There's no right or wrong. And so let's begin.